6 semifinals held this month throughout Ohio. I would now like to introduce Chiquita Mullins-Lee, Arts Learning Coordinator at the Ohio Arts Council.
Good afternoon, Nelsonville. Can I get an applause for the sunshine? Good riddance, polar vortex. Come this way no more. Poetry Out Loud is an arts education initiative generously sponsored by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Poetry Foundation in association with the Ohio Arts Council. Since 2007, I've had the privilege of seeing and hearing the best poetry ever written, recited by high school students. Poetry Out Loud state champions have distinguished themselves at the national finals in Washington, D.C. and have collectively won over $35,000 in prize money at the national finals alone. Ohio's done very well in Poetry Out Loud. You all are following in some fantastic footsteps. 2019 marks the 14th anniversary of Poetry Out Loud here in Ohio. Through regional partnerships and semifinals, we reduced travel distance for most students and teachers, increasing participation. We are so pleased to be partnering with the beautiful Stewart's Opera House.
In its storied past, Stewart's was home to traveling performances, high school graduations, and community meetings. Our education program at Stewart's was created to rebuild that community connection that was lost when the Opera House closed in 1924. I'm grateful for the opportunity to teach and for the support of our Executive Director, Tim Peacock, the board, and the Arts Education Advisory Committee. Support for our program comes from the Ohio Arts Council, the Epstein-Teicher Philanthropies, the Charles G. O'Blennis Foundation, Klein Penny Education Fund, Hocking College Music Production Program, Benefest, Athens Sunrise Rotary, the Johnny B. and John Spataro Fund, the Athens Community Art and Music Festival, the Athens County Foundation, etc. Wow, it does take a village. Next, I would like to introduce today's MC, Mr. Micah J. Covert. Mr. Covert currently serves as president of the Nelsonville, York City Schools Board of Education.
We are undoubtedly blessed to have Stewart's Opera House in our community and in our region. The many staff and volunteers of this organization help ensure thousands of our children receive important and necessary arts education. I remember fondly all of my English language arts teachers who first taught me to read, and my mother who took me to the Nelsonville Public Library as a child. Yeah, it's a very special place in my heart. Then my teachers taught me to enjoy reading. And finally, the beauty of creating art with words. And so today we come to celebrate poetry. Each of them competed at their high school and won the privilege of representing their school at this semifinal contest today. Don't be nervous. Every student here has been selected to represent their school at this regional competition. The highest scoring student from today's contest will be invited to compete in the state finals in Columbus in March. The state finals winner will be declared the 2019 Ohio Poetry Out Loud state competition winner and will be awarded a cash prize and an all-expense-paid trip to Washington, D.C. with a chaperone. And we look forward to experiencing the poetry the way it was meant to be enjoyed out loud. Wooden floors are very creaky and wonderful and historic, but if you stand up, we're all going to know about it. We are honored this year to have a short reading by our featured poet, Bianca Spriggs, and members of our Creative Writing for Seniors program. The contestants will be scored in 6 categories: physical presence, voice and articulation, dramatic appropriateness, evidence, understanding, overall performance, and accuracy. For this formidable task, I'd like to thank our 3 distinguished judges: Becca Lockman, Renard Phillips, and J.D. Gilmore. First, we have Gracie Miller, Junior from Logan High School.
The Bait by Eric Chalk. Saturday mornings, before my weekly chores, I used to sneak out of the house and across the street, grabbing the first grasshopper, walking in the damp California grass along the stream, carefully hiding a silver hook beneath its green wings. I'd float it out across the gentle ripples towards the end of its life. Just like that. I'd give it the hook and let it ride. All I ever expected for it was that big-mouthed bass awaiting its arrival. I didn't think that I was giving up one life to get another, that even childhood was full of sacrifice. I'd just take the bright green thing, pluck it off its only stalk, and give it away as if it were mine to give. I knew someone out there would be fooled, that someone would accept the precious gift. So I just sent it along with the plea of a prayer, hoping it would spread its wings this time and fly across that wet glass sky. No concern for what inspired its life or mine. Only instinct guiding pain towards the other side. Thank you.
Next we have Kirsten Stinson. Kirsten is a sophomore from John Glenn High School in New Concord, Ohio. Kirsten?
In by Andrew Hudgens. When we first heard from blocks away the fog truck's blustery roar, we dropped our toys, leapt from our meals, and scrambled out the door into an evening briefly fuzzy. We yearned to be transformed, translated past confining flesh to disembodied spirit. We swarmed in thick smoke, taking human form before we blurred again, turned vague and then invisible in temporary heaven. Freed of bodies by the fog, we laughed, we sang, we shouted. We were our voices, nothing else. Voice was all we wanted. The white clouds tumbled down the streets, pursued by spellbound children who chased the most distorting clouds, ecstatic in the poison.
In Gallipolis, Ohio. What?
Anne Rutledge by Edgar Lee Masters. Out of me, unworthy and unknown, the vibrations of deathless music, with malice towards none and charity for all, out of me the forgiveness of millions towards millions, the benevolent face of a nation shining with justice and truth. I am Anne Rutledge, who sleeps beneath these weeds, beloved in the life of Abraham Lincoln, wed to him, not through union, but through separation. Bloom forever, O Republic, from the dust of my bosom. Thank you.
Chevy Barnes. She is a freshman from River Valley High School in Bidwell, Ohio. Chevy?
I felt a funeral in my brain, Emily Dickinson. I felt a funeral in my brain, and mourners to and fro kept treading, till it seemed that sense was breaking through. And when they were all seated, a service like a drum kept beating, till I thought my mind was going numb. And then I heard them lift a box and creak across my soul with those same boots of lead again. Then space began to toll, as though the heavens were bell and being but an ear, and I in silence in some strange race, wrecked solitary here. And then a planet down and hit a world at every plunge and finish knowing then.
It is my honor to introduce Dr. Bianca Lynn Spriggs, who is an award-winning story bearer from Kentucky. An assistant professor of English at Ohio University, Bianca is the author of 5 collections of poems, most recently Black Mermaid, and the co-editor of 3 poetry anthologies, most recently Black Bone, 25 Years of Appalachian Poets, who, along with the poets from the creative writing class at Stewart's, will be performing for us. Bianca?
Hi! Y'all hanging in there? Okay. Thank you for making room in your lives for poetry today. You could be a lot of places. Today is actually kind of full circle for me. When I was you guys' age, I got my start behind a microphone doing speech team. We didn't have poetry out loud back in my day. I'm not going to say what day that was exactly. One day it would be pretty cool if someone could memorize my work. And Becca told me recently that one of my poems had made it into the catalog. So this is kind of a cool moment for me. I came to Ohio August 2017. I'm still trying to find my river legs, so I want to thank you all, Wendy and Emily and everyone, for making me feel at home here. My new collection, Black Mermaid, came out this fall. It's through an Ohio press. I'm doing my best to fit in. There's a poem in here about the Hocking River, and I figured that since the Hocking River is really swollen right now, I thought I would read this poem for you all. It's in a poetry form called the bop, which was invented. It's a contemporary form by Michael Afal Weaver, and it's got 3 stanzas, and in between each stanza you'll hear a lyric. Now I'm not going to punish y'all by singing to you, okay? But you will hear a lyric from a song in between, okay? So this is called the Hocking River, bop. Each year, the river god wakes up in winter to rise from a hematite nightmare, past his serrated and swollen borders, to find there are no roots left to thread his banks. He goes mad, slings slurry over pitted back roads and floods basements to reclaim all he can see. Lonely water, won't you let us wonder? To ensure he's got your attention, the river god shuts off power. The river god cancels school. The river god spreads rumors of his ferocity. The river god tells you what you ain't gonna do. And he watches you, watch him, your brow growing trenches deep enough to catch his runoff. His delight becomes ecstatic, involves all, for no one dares move unless he says, move. Lonely water, won't you let us wander? Once a year, people compare this year to the flood of 76, the flood of 68, the flood of 49. The river god does not care about dates, only that he has you right where he wants you, which is close enough to remember his true name. Lonely water, won't you let us wander? So what I do on the first day of classes is I show my students pictures of people rowing to class, in Ohio University, and I say, hey, people used to want to come to class once upon a time. What is your excuse? In the English department, it's kind of anybody's guess how many people will show up in your class on the first day. And so in order to kind of thin the herd a little bit, I have to do my best impression of Cruella de Vil all the way up until like midterms, and then they kind of figure out I'm actually, a weenie. They get a lot of quizzes and a lot of readings up front. I front load the class, and the ones who make it, they actually end up having a really good time. So I'm going to subject you all to a little bit of that today. This is called Pop Quiz. Do you want more sleep? Fewer pressing deadlines, depressing headlines? Fewer emails and texts and passwords and PIN codes, or just fewer alerts, less screen time? Do you want fewer hands yanking at your hem? What about a more efficient immune system? Want to quit smoking, quit drinking, kick sugar, go gluten-free? Do you want to sit up straighter, stand taller, lengthen your spine? Do you want a good meal? Would a sandwich do? Or maybe just something from the vending machine? Do you want a foot rub? Would you rather have the time it would take to have your feet rubbed instead of having your feet rubbed? Would you like an interesting hobby, a side hustle, better credit, less debt, more money in the bank, or would your pocketbook do? Or would your fifth pocket do? Do you want to get into a good school? Do you want your kids to get into a good school? Do you want a good job? Do you want to quit your job? Do you want to win? Do you want everyone to win? Do you want more time to practice, more time to get it right, to get your story straight, more time alone? More time with the people you love? Do you want a clean bill of health? Do you want negative/positive test results? More dignity, respect, retribution, revenge? Do you want them to call you back? Do you want to never see them again? Do you want the last word? Do you want them to know you have the last word? Do you want to be praised for your efforts, or would you be satisfied to only have your efforts seen or noticed even? Do you want to tell someone your secret? Do you want your secrets to be buried with you or burned? Do you want a cold drink? Maybe a stiff one? The vote to go your way? What about the score, the odds? Do you want true love? Or would you be content to recognize true love when it shows up? Want to slow down or stop time, speed time up? Do you want to time travel so you can take back what you said or did? How about a new place to live? A better area of town maybe? A new sectional, a new bookshelf, a faster phone with unlimited data? Do you want to lose those 25/15/5 pounds for good? Do you want to be left alone? Do you want to practice better self-care? Do you want to know if you're any good? How good would you want to know you are? Who would you want to tell you? Do you want to understand some small part, any part of the grand design? Would you want to skip over the fine print that says there is none? Do you want a new car or just a better one? A more efficient route, less traffic? Less construction? Do you want a better view? A bigger TV? A better balcony from which to see? Do you want to care more? Do you not want to care so much? Do you want tickets to that show? Do you want a first-class way there? A pair of new shoes? A more stylish haircut? Do you want all the plastic in the oceans to go away? Do you want to know what happens after we die? Is this all just an elaborate game or dream? Do you want to know for certain that there is one promised land fits all, or would you prefer to keep making it up as we go along? Do you want just once to feel like you're not screwing it up, like you're not letting someone down, like you're ahead of the curve? Do you want to not be afraid? Do you want to know for sure that you're not a horrible person, that you belong, that you are valued/memorable/a true original? Do you want to live? Oh God! What you wouldn't give to live, as the doe lives, as the fox lives, as the dragonfly propelled in any direction by 4 gossamer wings. Do you want to not want anything at all? But then, how would you know? How would you know? So then I just watch them all file out, you know. This poem actually kind of went viral in my little neck of the world in November around the Kavanaugh trials. The poem is essentially trying to find a way, now that we have a paradigm shift among us, how to dissolve the illusion of separateness between us. And I think that, you know, places like these are one of the last liminal spaces we can count on to be able to do that, to reach people. So this is called To the Woman I Saw Today Who Wept in Her Car. Woman, I get it. We are strangers, but I know the heart is a hive, and someone has knocked yours from its high branch in your chest, and it lays cracked and splayed, spilling honey all over the ground floor of your gut. And the bees inside that you've trained over the days and years to stay put swarm the terrain of your organs, yes, right here in traffic while we wait for the light to change. I get it. How this array of metal and plastic tends to go womb once the door shuts. And maybe you were singing only moments before you got the call, or remembered that thing you had tucked back and built such sturdy scaffolding all around. And now here it comes to knock you adrift with only your steering wheel to hold you up. Or maybe today was just a tough day, and the sunlight and warm weather and blossoming limbs and smiling pedestrians waiting for their turn to cross are much too much to take. When you think of all that's left in this day, and here you are, a reed stuck in the mud of rush hour intersections with so very many hours left to go. Woman, I know you. I know how that thing, when left attended, will show up as a typhoon on your front door demanding to be let in, or it will take the whole house with it. I know this place too. I get it. And because we are strangers, because you did not see me see you, my gaze has no more effect than a specter who stares at the living. And yet, I want you to know that today, in the hive of my heart, there is room enough for you. Thank you.
Knowing that you are here in Southeastern Ohio is a great honor. And I was thinking of my English teacher, my English professor at Ohio University for 151 at the time. And it was a woman by the name of Amy Shaw. Amy is a high school English teacher at Athens High School, and she participated in a program whereby high school teachers could take a year off and teach freshman composition at public state universities. And so I was lucky enough to have her for 151. And Amy taught us to be proud of Appalachia. And we wrote poems about Appalachia. And that's something that I will... Freshman year was a long time ago for me in undergrad, but I'll never forget that. So thank you, and thank you for doing what you do every day. Next, I'd like to introduce some poets from our creative writing class for seniors here at Stewart's Opera House. I'll have each of them come on stage and right there.
We have a very special circumstance, and I'd like to beg your indulgence, please. But we have a student who had a solo ensemble competition this morning and arrived late. However, she has arrived now, and we'd like to give her the opportunity to compete. Judges, this is contestant number 4.
Thanks, Emily. You're just throwing us for a loop this year. Last year we had snow. It's like goodness. Next, I'd like to introduce Noelle Taylor, a junior from Nelsonville York High School in Nelsonville, Ohio.
Noelle Taylor, From Space to Time, Carolyn M. Rogers. On a day when we were dark and not so full of light, we met. What did we find? Nothing. Everything when we had closed our eyes, which anyway had never been open. Once, we thought we loved each other. Who can reverse time? We tried. We stepped out of space into some new step-up distance and fell. And not in love.
You might think of burning an extra to honor the memory of someone who never met her. A man who may have come to the town she lived in, looking for work and never found it. Picture him taking a stroll one morning after a month of grief with the want ads to refresh himself in the park before moving on. Suppose he notices on the gravel path the shards of a green glass bottle that your grandmother, then still a girl, will be destined to step on when she wanders barefoot away from her school picnic if he doesn't stoop down and scoop the mess up with the want ad section and carry it to a trash can. For you to burn a candle for him, you needn't suppose the cut would be a deep one. Just deep enough to keep her at home the night of the hayride, when she meets Helen, who is soon to become her dearest friend, whose brother George, 30 years later, helps your grandfather with a loan so his shoe store doesn't go under in the Great Depression, and his son, your father, is able to stay in school, where his love of learning is fanned into flames, a love he labors later to kindle in you.
how grateful you are for your father's efforts is shown by the candles you've burned for him. But today, for a change, why not a candle for the man whose name is unknown to you? Take a moment to wonder whether he died at home with friends and family, or alone on the road, on the lookout for no one to sit at his bedside and hold his hand, the very hand it's time for you to imagine holding. Thank you.
I am offering this poem by Jimmy Santiago Baca. I am offering this poem to you since I have nothing else to give. Keep it like a warm coat when winter comes to cover you, or like a pair of thick socks the cold cannot bite through. I love you. I have nothing else to give you, so it is a pot full of yellow corn to warm your belly in winter. It is a scarf for your head to wear over your hair, to tie up around your face. I love you. Keep it. Treasure this as you would if you were lost, needing direction in the wilderness life becomes when mature. And in the corner of your drawer, tucked away like a cabin or hogan in dense trees, come knocking, and I will answer, give you directions, and let you warm yourself by this fire, rest by this fire, and make you feel safe. I love you. It's all I have to give, and all anyone needs to live. And to go on living inside when the world outside no longer cares if you live or die. Remember, I love you.
"300 Goats" by Naomi Shihab Nye. In icy fields, is water flowing in the tank? Will they huddle together, warm bodies pressing, scholars debating Chinese zodiac follower or leader? Oh, lead them to a warm corner, little ones towards bulkier bodies, lead them to the brush, which cuts the icy wind. Another frigid night swooping down, aren't you worried for them? I asked my friend, who was by herself on a ranch of goats, far from here, near the town of Azana. She shrugs. Not really. They know what to do. They're goats.
Noel Taylor, Ballad of Birmingham by Dudley Randall. Mother dear, may I go downtown and march the streets of Birmingham in a freedom march today? No, baby, no. You may not go. For the dogs are fierce and wild, and clubs and hoses, guns and jails aren't good for a little child. But mother, I won't be alone. Other children will go with me and march the streets of Birmingham to make our country free. No, baby, no, you may not go. For I fear the guns will fire. But you may go to church instead and sing in the children's choir. She has bathed. She has combed and brushed her dark night hair and bathed rose petal sweet, and drawn white gloves on her small brown hands and white shoes on her feet. Her mother smiled to know her child was in a sacred place, but that smile was the last smile to come upon her face. For when she heard the explosion, her eyes grew wet and wild. She raced through the streets of Birmingham, calling for her child. She clawed through bits of glass and brick, and then lifted out a shoe. Oh, this is the shoe my baby wore. But baby, where are you?
Group, which used to be Big Brothers Big Sisters. We are in the region here and working to mentor before that, though, I was a high school English teacher and middle school reading teacher. This particular poem was written for one of my students that I had in a writing seminar class, and I'm going to try to get through it without breaking up. It's called The Ride of Your Life, for Terry Owen. He stood right beside you, left hand gripping the handlebar, right grasping the seat for balance. You sat there, back extra straight, little hands clutching and twisting the bars, feet dancing to a wild pulsing inside. You can do it, he said. I'll be with you all the way. And you believed him. You pedaled slowly, testing your wheels as he walked alongside and whispered, "That's the way," into your ear. "Let's go faster," you said, "faster than the wind." And you pedaled harder, flashing a peek at him as he jogged to keep up. "You can do it," he said. "I'll be with you all the way." So you watched in horror as his left hand loosened and hovered over the bar. "Steer," he said, and you did. Oh, you wobbled a little and stole some extra glances to be sure he huffed alongside, still there. "Look at me," you laughed, and he did. His smile could have detonated the block. You still don't know when it happened, but the road suddenly opened before you, and your senses sprang to life. You could smell the sun drying the grass, hear a new bud break through its earth womb, taste the wind and touch laughter in your soul. Somewhere, he let go. Slowly, so you didn't notice. And though you lost the sound of his breathing, and voice still lingers in your inner ear, you can do it. You're doing great. I'll be with you all the way.
Life begins at 40. Because I happened to take a wrong turn that day, I came to a totally too small room, crammed with stuff. There were posts and beams and strings and threads and pedals and levers, and all interlaced with people as though it were a packed-in 3D structure. It's the weaving room at the School of Art. How do I get in or out? Entering into that room, my life took a new turn. The study of weaving inflamed a passion I did not know was there. I was 40 and ready for new something. Amongst the yarns and hills and treadles and shuttles and folks working there, I became a weaver, a fiber artist. There was a before and an after. What was life before? I grew from childhood to adulthood, graduated college, married, and bore 3 children before 40. Years more passed before I knew that life began at 40 years of age. After 40, see above. As my fiber artist life developed and ripened, I had an opportunity to travel to Japan. Again, taken unaware, I came into a new passion. I didn't know it was there. Took me by surprise. Again, halfway around the earth in Japan, I discovered paper, a fiber art, including all manner of interlacing fibers. My life was infused with various forms of fiber arts: sewing, weaving, knitting, knotting, dyeing, wrapping, quilting, printing. It's very clear. Paper is a fiber art. Being a process of beating cellulose fibers to a pulp, laying sheets to dry. From there, myriad ways of handling the sheets to achieve aesthetic goals. As an artist, an artistic medium, paper as a fiber art. Had they known, paper should have been listed as the fifth element in the ancient Greeks' order of the universe. You know, earth, air, fire, water were said to have been the four elements from which all else was made. Think fifth element. In any case, falling in love with the art of papermaking changed my life once again, until my spine gave out. The love is still there, but the work is now actually done by those beloved members of my studio who have stronger bodies and brighter souls. I am eternally grateful for them. My creative efforts currently take the form of words on paper, becoming my newest passion.
I'm a member of a group of poets called the Afro-Latin Poets, and this group has been around since 1991. It was founded by Frank X. Walker, who is to date the first and only Black American Kentucky Poet Laureate, and I was among the second generation brought in, and I'm actually bringing the Afro-Latin Poets up in August through Ohio University. There's been a documentary made about them that we're going to show at the Athena, so keep your ears peeled for that so it won't seem so weird when you hear that term, Afro-Latin. Those are my people, so you guys can come on through and check us out. But we're very much interested in the relationship of people to land and how the land can shape you just as much as your family can, right? So this is called Praise Song for a Mountain. I'm a little crazy about mountains, so I think it's fitting that I'm moving closer and closer and closer to actually being on top of a mountain one day. But I call my adventures in my front yard. It's very new to have just deer just sort of hang out in the front yard. And one day I was like, is it possible to have an infestation of blue jays? I'm not really sure. There's a lot of them in the front yard. So I called the Adventures of Snow Black. So I don't really know what's going to happen there. But I love being, in the foothills and close to the mountains. So this is called Praise Song for a Mountain. And a praise song is a Black American art form that's kind of like an ode. Oh mountain, I am your daughter. Once before I knew you, I mistook you for a low-hanging thunderhead, or thought maybe you were a blue whale that had lost its way, blinded by the sun. Oh mountain, linger, be my whole horizon. Let me never open my eyes and see a thing but your hoary grace. You are the missing rib of the earth. You are the climax of a god's birth. You are the mausoleum of burnt-out stars. Oh mountain, I wish one day to be buried in your third eye. Lend me something of yourself, your posture, your grip, your innermost jewel-toned scene, so that I too may endure. These guys are making me step my game up. So another pop quiz. How many planets do we currently celebrate in our solar system? Do you know? 8 or 9. So it's 8 or 9. Technically it's 8. I'm still bitter about Pluto. Okay. And when I see Neil deGrasse Tyson one day, I'm going to be like, why? Why did you have to support that decision? Whatever, be my dad. This is called separation anxiety. And then one day you look up and Pluto is no longer considered a full planet. Pluto has been demoted to a dwarf planet, one of hundreds of other possible dwarf planets. Clouded with too much roll and not enough rock, Pluto hovers in and out of Hubble's scope next to some new guy, and it's not your Pluto anymore. When you were young, you built from scratch a replica of 9 celestial bodies, and you knew how and where they all orbited in relation to you. A person goes their whole life knowing without a doubt that there are 9 planets, and now somewhere some kid is learning there are only 8 that count. You look up, and you cannot help but empathize with Galileo's dissenters. Change can be so uncomfortable in nature, even when it's true. You wonder if in one day somebody can decide to dismantle the identity of an entire planet with 5 moons and everything. What will they do when they grow weary of seeing you? Still bitter. Still bitter. These poems are out of my collection, The Galaxy's a Dance Floor, and they're all about matters of the heart, existential crises through the lens of the cosmos and the natural world. And this book came out a couple years ago. I started working on it maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It got kicked off actually by attending a lecture by an astrophysicist named Dr. Ronald Mallett, who believes that time travel is possible, but you can only go forward in time. You can't go back. And so he's even inspired Spike Lee. Spike Lee wants to do a whole thing on his life and everything. He would say these wonderful jewels like, the heart is a clock. And so I was like, oh my God, this high art, this is so, and I just kept writing, And so there's this concept in sci-fi called the multiverse. Are you all familiar with the multiverse? That, okay, so I got a lot of geeks in here. All right, okay. I pay a lot of close attention to my dreams, and that's where this title came from, and it starts with an epigraph by Dr. Mallett, in which a dream about Bill Murray reveals the multiverse. And he says, Dr. Ronald Mallett says, in some universe, I got it right. What if dreams are the way we access every life we never lived? Somewhere out there is a version of you that said yes, said no, took a right, went left, ordered the steak, passed on dessert, lingered too long, left too soon, went back, stayed put, starred in a film, started a cult, sold at a concert, or took a long walk down death row. There is a life where you swim with sharks, live in trees, or fly. There is a life where you are the very worst person you never imagined possible, while in the opposite direction you are a hero, have saved millions of people's lives. It's true. Out there, you've done it all, and it is in that place where that version is dreaming of you. So, being triggered by moving here to Ohio, the closest Walmart is 45 minutes away. No, the closest Target. Oh my gosh, Target. Just bring one to Athens, please. So I spent a lot of time by myself thinking all hard, trying to chase down 2 cats. So I'm working on a sequel to this called We're Still Big Banging. So I don't know, that's the working title. I'm going to close with thank you again for having me. Thank you again for the parents and teachers for supporting these amazing students who have brilliant voices. And I'm very much looking forward to what you all come up with one day on your own. This is from Black Mermaid. It's called The Secret to Eternal Youth. I got everybody's attention with that one. Read more poems. Fall in love. Often. As often as possible. Stay with someone until you've heard all their stories, then fall in love again with them or another, no matter. The heart is a muscle. It wants exercise. Each little tear can only make room for more. It does not matter who or how many or how often you love, just that you do. There is no time in love. What is an hour? What is a year? What is 100 years? Love does not know these names. Love is only constructed of love. How else might one see what they are capable of? How vast and how limitless a being, unless one's love is reckless and careless and given freely without fear. Love like a child. There is no shame in love, and there is no shape to it. It fills whatever vessel can hold it, an ark as easily as a thimble. The thing itself does not change. In love, there are no soulmates. There are no husbands, no wives, no children, no siblings, no friends. There is only love, and we are all on its path. Companions. On this path, there is no such thing as who loves more than whom. One person's love is not more efficient than another's. There is no piety here, no conditions, no calculations to resolve. After all, what is the unit with which you would measure all of your tears? All of your sighs of pleasure or despair? How much does your sleeplessness weigh? And what of happiness? How tall is your contentment? How deep is your surrender? What is the circumference of how much love has changed you each and every time? Then what happens when you find yourself at the bottom of love, where you think you have excavated every acre of your abandon? What else, you might say, is there possibly left to know or perceive that I have not done already? That is where you must plant yourself, in that space of unknowing, and wait until you recognize in everyone that you have loved, in everything you have ever looked for in another, that the extended hand, holding a hand, holding a hand, holding, is your own. Thank you.
Thank you again, Jim and Sarah and Bianca.
Abandoned farmhouse, Ted Kruger. He was a big man, says the size of his shoes, on a pile of broken dishes by the house. A tall man, too, says the length of his bed and an upstairs room. And a good God-fearing man, says the broken back, on the floor below the window dusty with sun. But not a man for farming. See the leaky barn and the cluttered fields? A woman lived with him, says the bedroom walls paved with lilacs, and the kitchen shelves covered with oilcloth. And they had a child, says the sandbox made from a tractor tire. Money was scarce, says the jars of plum preserves and canned tomatoes in the cellar hole. And the winter's cold, say the rags in the window frames. It was lonely here, says the narrow country road. Something went wrong, says the abandoned house and the weed-choked yard. Stones in the field say he was not a farmer. The steel jars in the cellar say she left in a nervous haste. And the child, its toys are strewn in the yard like branches after a storm. A rubber cow, a rusty tractor with a broken plow, a doll in overalls. Something went wrong, they say.
I'd like to now invite our contestants to return to the stage. And we're going to take some group photographs, and we also have a certificate for each of the students in honor of their achievement today. So, yes. So, we'll begin the final stretch of today's contest. We will present each contestant with their certificate, honoring their participation, and then we'll announce the name of 2 students who will be moving on to the state finals in Columbus on March 3rd. March 8th.
That one's on me. That one's on me.
Accuracy. I'm not judged on accuracy. So. March 8th in Columbus, state finals. 12 state finalists from the 6 Ohio semifinal contests will enter into the state finals competition. So students, please come forward as we announce your name. The first is Noelle Taylor. All right, and the next is Wyatt Rucker. Kirsten Stinson. Gracie Miller. And last but certainly not least, Chevy Barr. All right. Wonder who has the scores. All right. So the results are in. Ooh. Calm down. The judges have reached their final decisions. Again, I'd like to congratulate all of the students who participated in today's contest. Your hard work brought you here, and I trust that you found it a rewarding experience. We all greatly enjoyed your recitations. You have done impressive work bringing these poets' verses to life. Thank you to each of you for reminding us of the importance and relevance of poetry today. And we look forward to hearing from each of you in the future. We will present 2 finalists with an invitation to compete in the state finals in Columbus on March 8th. If today's finalists are unable to compete, we will contact the next highest scoring student from this semifinal and invite the student to step in. Now, I shall announce the name of the students who will be advancing to the state finals. Please step forward as your name is called. Kirsten Stinson. Gracie Miller. Please join me again in applauding our new state finalists. Better rock it for Southeast Ohio. Okay, all right. Now, the other state competitions, they're in big cities, but you're representing us, all right? Appalachia. So, this concludes our competition today.
If on your grandmother's birthday, you burn a candle to honor her memory, you might think of burning an extra to honor the memory of someone who never met her. A man who may have come to the town she lived in, looking for work and never found it. Picture him taking a stroll one morning after a month of grief with the one ads to refresh himself in the park before moving on.
All right, everyone look at me. All right.
needs some kind of help, therapy or something.